is an old unit.
Welcome, y'all, to a new episode of Let's Talk Legacy podcast. I'm excited for this episode here. I got my brother, one of my mentors here. I'm very excited to hear his outlook on this topic. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, so I'm Keith Jackson. A little bit about myself. So originally from Columbia, Tennessee, about 40 miles south of Nashville. Uh, Spent the last 20 plus years in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was a great experience. And then due to work, had stops in North Carolina, and now I'm here in Augusta, Georgia. Um, so yeah, here with my man Lavelle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to have my brother here. We got a very important topic to hit on today. So this series I have is called Redefining Strength. Now, this episode in particular is called The Myth of Strength and What We Were Taught. Okay, so growing up, strength wasn't really something that was taught to us. It was kind of handed to us, right?
True. Yep.
And most of the people that handed it to us had their own interpretation of what strength is. And what thing we don't really realize is that strength was based off of their interpretation, based off of their experiences. And sometimes we forget that people have new experiences, which may call for a different definition of strength, right? So
Facts.
I'm curious, I have my outlooks on it, but I'm very curious how my brother here, Keith, sees that topic and, whether or not he's been someone that's been impacted by those cultural expectations.
Right.
Right. And whether or not it has shaped your emotional habits in any shape or form. What you think?
It has, yeah, for sure, yeah. And I think any and everybody probably has that same result. So yeah.
So any examples based off of your reflection of childhood, upbringing, teenagehood into adulthood?
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, your adult life is definitely gonna be impacted by your childhood, right? Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, it's gonna impact your beliefs and how you see the world, through your years, right? Especially those late teens, those 20s. I would say probably as you reach your 30s, you start trying to find your own place. So you start figuring things out, right? And you start saying, okay, what my parents told me or what the neighborhood told me doesn't necessarily hold true based on what I'm experiencing in the world. But you also might be at an elevated level that maybe your parents didn't experience or your childhood friends didn't experience, right? Or people in the neighborhood. So what I mean by that is, right, so when I'm growing up, I grew up in, you could say poor to middle class. It just depends on where you live in the neighborhood. Projects right down the street. I grew up in a house, but our house was a trailer, single wide trailer, right? But then next door, it's a house right beside it. So it's just the dynamic we had at the time. Yeah. So I hung out with different cats. Some of them on the block doing what they do, putting in work. A lot of guys, getting up, going to work. Parents getting up, going to work, and so I kind of grew up with that mindset that, you got to go out and get that quote unquote, get that good job. Mm-hmm. And that good job, you get that good job, you're gonna be straight, right? Yeah. Well, is that really the case though, right? Does that good job really put you in a position where you're gonna be better off? Because do you want to be somewhere, still doing the same thing for 20 plus years, but the pay doesn't justify what you're trying to accomplish? Yeah. But yet you've been told this is a good job because this is what your parents believe. Right. So that's why I say once you start getting older, you reach your 20s and your 30s, you put yourself in a position where you want to go experience more, you're going to find out that my parents weren't wrong, or the people in the neighborhood weren't wrong. It's just all they knew. Yeah. So their world was pretty small, right? So you got to ask yourself, do I want to stay in this world? And if you do, that's okay. But just realize the results from being in that world aren't going to probably be that abroad for you to figure out, man, I seen this, I've done that,
Yep.
I experienced this.
Yeah.
So you got to ask yourself, and I've said this to you before, exposure leads to expansion.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely, man.
So the more you're exposed to, the more you're going to expand your mind, and the more you're going to think about, you know what, I can do something different. So that's where I was.
Yeah.
Right? Went to college, you know, and and again, I didn't graduate. I didn't graduate college. I went to college, but I always knew that, you know, I was a pretty sharp brother, right? Just got to apply myself. It's anything you do, you need to apply yourself. So, so anyway, you know, I met my wife, and so I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And when I moved to Oklahoma, you know, I got the job that I had at the time, and so then that job led to something else, and it's, you know, it's why I'm currently employed by. And so I went through, you know, the normal process, you know, just being a guy going to work, head down. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. But I kept in the back of my mind, I'm like, I could do more than this.
Yes, sir.
And so I was asked one time by someone at work who's in management. And he's like, well, Jackson, you know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? He said, because I feel like you would be great at this upcoming position. Beautiful. I said, well, I appreciate that, but I think I'm bigger and better in that position. And so things changed and things evolved at work, and I jumped in on some things at the right time. And so because of that, and me having, you know, the mindset that I want to know more, I want to know more, I want to see more, I want to see more. So I'm asking questions. I'm attaching myself to the right people. And so because of that, you know, without going too much of a rabbit hole about it, that led me in a position where I went from, you know, the guy on the floor to the guy in the office.
Beautiful.
And then the guy in the office, you know, spent time in Europe. The guy in the office spent, you know, that guy went, you know, spent time in Canada. That guy spent time at, you know, I can't even count how many places I've been to in the U.S. for work, right? And so, you know, went to Australia for work, right? So it's because I put myself in a position where I said, you know what, that small world that my parents told me about, it was cool, but I wanted more.
Yes.
So I put myself in a position to do more. So so again, you know, who you were going to be as an adult is definitely impacted by your childhood, but that doesn't necessarily define the result of your adulthood, right? It's only impacts it, but then you've got to do some things to impact and make it go further.
You know what?
So you can keep it stagnant, or you can make it grow.
Man, you know what? I love it. I hear so much in that story, man. I'm gonna just tell you how all of the what you call, I guess, stereotypical, maybe cultural expectations. It can be very dangerous based off.
It can be.
The, you know, the influence on your mindset.
Yeah, it can be.
Right. So like this topic of redefining strength and that myth of strength. It's less of a myth, but it's more of a convenience based off of circumstance.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right. And I think I talk to a lot of my people I care about, and I think we may need to give a lot more grace to the people that call themselves trying to help us.
Yeah.
Right. And trying to, you know, help us grow and mold us, because we can't be for certain that they knew, right, how to prepare you for a future that they didn't really know much about either.
Right.
Yeah, but it's important, I think, your element of, despite all of that, because I think all of us have to deal with that. Despite all of that, we have to decide to want more, right?
Right.
Exposure leads to expansion pieces. We got to dwell and sit in that and live in it.
Right. And you got to be intentional, right? So it's easy to say, hey, I want to go here. I want to live here. I want to, you know, drive this car. I want to live in this type of neighborhood. What you gonna do about it?
You know,
you're gonna put the pieces of the puzzle together and make it happen, or you're just gonna keep talking about it.
You know what?
Right?
That's real.
So as we say growing up, right? You got to be about it. You just can't talk about it.
You can't just talk about it. You got to work.
Right? You got to be about it. Right? You got to plan the work and work the plan.
Man.
So either execute it or you don't. And here's the thing about it: it's okay if you don't get it done on a certain timeline.
Yep.
Right? As long as you're still breathing, you got a shot at getting it right.
Yes, sir.
So just because a guy at 40 is killing it and you're not killing it yet, and you're 45, don't hate on him. That's what God's plan was for him.
That's not your race.
Stay in your lane. Ask God to give you guidance and put in just your steps so you can get to where you need to be in the time He wants you there. Because again, He doesn't have a timeline.
Oh man.
So a lot of times we put too much pressure on ourselves to be somewhere we want to be, and then we don't get there at a certain time, we fail. You didn't fail. You just got to keep focused, stay locked in.
You know
It's
what?
part of the process.
You know, the focus on failure, it
Yeah.
makes you miss the lesson.
Yep.
Because it's never failure.
Nope. It's a learning
Yeah,
experience.
it's never failure,
Right.
man. It's like it takes. I realize it takes some time to realize that that's what's happening when you're in the midst of what we want to call negativity. You know what I mean? But that's the case every single time.
Yep. You get, and I would say another big thing a lot of people miss. You cannot be afraid to bet on yourself.
Love it.
Right. So, are there things probably I may have missed upon in my lifetime that maybe would have elevated me to a different level, financially, just artistically, the way I think, the way I do things, probably so.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still, in my mind, I've always bet on myself.
Yes,
so
sir.
I feel like, from what I can tell, what I've accomplished, I made the right decision to bet on the things that I bet on for myself, right? And that means I believe that I could do these things. That means that the guy who didn't have a college degree could still sit in a room with a bunch of other people. We got plaques on the wall, but they still got to ask me, what do I think? What's my opinion? Or should we do this, Keith, or should we not?
Yes, sir.
Right? So again, you gotta love yourself enough to bet on yourself and to believe in yourself.
You know what?
Right?
You know
so
what? I love it.
That's why that's why I left Tennessee and moved to Oklahoma. That's why we moved from Oklahoma to North Carolina. We moved from North Carolina to South Carolina because I bet on myself.
Yep.
And I believe in myself.
Every time.
Right?
Come on, man.
And if you do got a woman in your life, or that other person in your life, that spouse or whatever, she, he, whatever, you got to have that right person to believe in you as well. Because if not, you don't have an alignment, you're not equally yoked, you're going to have a hard time getting to that next level. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be clean.
Big facts.
But you got to have somebody else to hold your back. When you're in fallback, they're pushing you forward like, nope, you said this is what you want to do. I believe in you. You said we was going to do this. We're doing it.
That's real.
So
yes,
get your back back locked up, straighten up, and let's keep going.
Come on now.
Right?
Yes. No, that's real.
Right. One step in front of the other.
You know, that's real. I love it. You hit on a lot, man. You hit on a lot, but I think a lot of it makes the next point relevant, right? So betting on yourself, right? You talk about self-love, but you also have this cultural expectation sometimes, and it's maybe traditional, of preferring to be silent rather than either speaking up in moments where you should. I can understand the justification, right, that the generation before us might have made of just kind of keeping to yourself, keeping your head down, and doing what you need to do and going back home. But I think we're past the stage or era where we gotta live in that as a standard, right? Because the only way things will actually change is if we change them, right? Especially if we expect them to change for the better.
Nothing changes until you change it.
Exactly. Yep. So my I guess my question for you here is, what's your outlook of strength being labeled? Or let me take a step back. What is your outlook of the difference between being strong and being silent?
I would say, and this is speaking as a black man in America, and then especially in corporate, sometimes, to me, and I just say this is my best friend who's growing up, and he still brings it up to this day. Sometimes the best move is no move. Sometimes it's just good to be quiet, be silent, and just hear from God, and He'll tell you when to speak up. What hill you want to die on, right? What sword you want to fall on, and then a lot of times, being silent to me takes strength, because sometimes that's not the situation for you to speak, right, or show an action. And then sometimes there is a time you must show an action. You must show strength by voicing your opinion, or saying, no, this is not going to happen. This will happen, or I don't think this should be the way, or this should be the way, right? You go left, or you don't go left. You go right, you don't go right. And then sometimes it's a matter of just saying, you know what, I'm gonna let you figure it out. I'm just gonna stay quiet, because depending on the situation, right? So what I mean by that is, if I'm trying to give you advice and I'm like, Lavelle, 55 years old, here's what I've experienced. So this is the closest thing I can tell you that I experienced that you talking about you getting ready to go through.
Yep.
Here's what I can tell you. And then if I give you that and you ignore that, the next time you come around, I'm like, okay, I hear you. Hey, good luck with that.
Of course.
Let me know how it works out, right? So I'm not going to keep rehashing this over with you because at this point, it's like, you know what? You're not really listening to me. So I'm just going to just keep to myself and just be quiet.
I understand that.
But then you have other times where it's like, you know what? I can't watch this brother fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to go ahead and I got to say something.
Yeah.
I got to speak up. I might even step in front of him like, look, let me talk about this. Let me handle this. Let me have this discussion, this follow up, whatever situation is, right? So you can learn from this. And hopefully after we get this cleaned up, you realize, okay, from this point on, I got to know how to speak, how to, control the room,
mm-hmm.
control myself in the room.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the loudest person in the room is just talking. Ooh, they just want to be heard, right?
Come on, man.
And a lot of times the smallest person in the room doesn't say a word.
Yes, sir.
Or when they do speak, they speak because now the time is to say something.
The time is now.
The time is now. They have something valuable to say.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I think too, when you do it enough, and you do it enough around the same group of people, they almost expect that from you. Yeah. They know that, okay, well, wait a minute, hold on, Lavelle's saying something.
Right.
So he doesn't say anything unless it's going to be something of value.
Yes, sir.
Right? And, I have an acronym I use called NVA. Some people just talk, and it's non-value added.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? It's like, geez, like you got to be freaking kidding me. I said this whole time, and you just said a bunch of nothing, as we used to say back back in the day.
Yes, sir.
So I would say, yeah, it can be both, and I feel like a lot of times to be silent takes strength, because sometimes you can be so passionate or so caught up in the moment. You could say something and be out of character.
Yeah.
You could say something and be like, you know what? It's not what I intended. It's not what I meant.
Right.
But now everybody heard what you said, so that's what they remember.
Yeah.
So again, I would say just for me and the way I do things, I just listen, I observe, I watch how people move, whether it's in the street, in the restaurant, or again, it's at work in a meeting.
Yeah.
And then that kind of helps me dictate what my next steps are.
No, I love that. No, I'm gonna tell you why I love that, because you hit on a lot, man. So strength is meant to be challenged right now, because I can tell, like right now, the standard for strength, especially in our community, it doesn't sound like what you described, right? So it's I guess it's strength versus stoicism, if you want to call it that, of being still. Sometimes it's meant for you to be still.
It is.
Right. So it's like it's this word that I think a lot of people maybe need to spend more time with, called discernment. Right? Because that discernment is what helps you when those moments come where you may need to be silent.
Yeah.
Or you need to speak up. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So the practice of the discernment piece will help you know which way you need to
go.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's value on both sides.
Exactly.
Of it, right? But the part I like, you said earlier in your response, was around listening to God, right? The only time you can actually hear him is when you're in silence.
That's it, right?
Right. So, and I'm gonna be honest with you, just me personally, I practice, and it's hard being a father of four trying to find some silence.
Oh yeah, I mean? Yep, for sure.
But I practice making sure I have some level of silence, because it gives me clarity.
Yep.
And and in the midst of chaos, I think a lot of people don't give themselves enough of a chance to embrace silence, so they can reap the same benefits.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So no, I think you spot on about being strong. Silence is involved with being strong, right? And a lot of this, we ignored it for what it is just emotional regulation.
Yep.
Right? How can, if you do feel a certain type of way,
exactly,
when something happens, can you regulate your emotions enough to only speak with enough clarity to actually move some things forward?
Exactly. I can't get clarity if I'm just yelling at the top of my lungs.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just going off about something. But if I just sit back, think about it, you know, and I really do that a lot, you know, because I'm getting older. Because it's like, you know, I mean, let's be honest, I got more behind me than I do in front of me.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what? Is this that big of a deal today?
Mm-hmm.
You know, my nephew lives with us, right? Kinship, foster care, 13. He got, you know, we first got him, we had days, he drive me crazy. Because I'm so far removed from that.
Yeah.
Because our two daughters didn't act like that, right? But I have to remember, we had them since birth. They're my children, my daughters, and we raised them in a structured, loving home.
Big difference.
So I had to remember he didn't have that.
Yes.
So I got to give that young fella grace.
Yep.
And sometimes that means I got to just shut up and be quiet and let him either say what he's trying to say or do what he's trying to do, and realize, okay, this is going to take longer because he didn't come from the same structure and background.
Yeah.
My growing up wasn't great, but still had both parents in the house. I had my siblings around.
Yep. And
I had people in the neighborhood. You know, back in the day, all black neighborhood, you know, everybody knew you, so somebody didn't have a problem putting hands on you.
That's right.
If mom and dad wasn't around. Village. You know what I mean? Right? Village, right? So again, sometimes the best strength is just being being silent, listening, asking God for clarity, asking him to direct your steps, direct your path. And again, I think, you know, you can add to that grace. You know, because, you know, being strong doesn't necessarily mean you always gotta be right either.
Major key.
You sometimes like, you know what, I feel like I know what's best, I know what you should be doing. Or you should have done this, you should have done that, but you don't know any better. Yeah. So I gotta give you a little grace.
Yep. And
then if you make this mistake, we'll sit down, we'll talk about it, we'll go through it. You know, hey Lavelle, what do you think you could have done different?
Yeah.
I probably should have done this first, or Mr. Jackson probably should have done this, you know, for somebody at work or whatever, right? Okay. So moving forward, you know what you need to do, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir, I got it. Okay, bet. We move on. And it's giving you grace. It's allowing you to have opportunity to walk you through your steps. You realize what was done, what wasn't done correctly, what wasn't done correctly. And then to be patient enough to talk you through it with a voice that you hear that doesn't sound like he's frustrated.
Right.
And he's mad at you, right? Because all that's going to do is make you check out.
Absolutely.
So now we had that conversation. You had that time. And so now, next time moving forward, you're like, you know what? I got it.
Major keys, man.
Yep.
So I think that's a good segue into the last piece of this, man. I think this is a really good conversation. But how can we rewrite the script, right? What can we do as yourself, right? As a person in the circumstance where you've taken on, you know, a new member, you know, household member with a different background and may need that additional help, right? When it comes to emotional regulation, right, and all of that. How can we help rewrite the script, you know, collectively? What would you say is the best things we can do?
I'm going to use the same term that I've used at work for years. It was taught to me. Explain the why. All right, so 55 years old. So I grew up in a generation where your parents told you do something or I'm going to whoop your ass.
Come on now.
Right?
Come on.
I'm going to whoop your ass. I'm going to go get this, I'm going to go get this stick off this, I'm going to get this branch, right? This, and I'm going to beat your ass.
Yes, sir.
Right? Or they just give you that look, right? And you sitting there like, what did I do wrong? Or what do you want me to do? What should I have done? It don't matter. You just do what I told you to do because I told you to do it.
Period.
Right? Period.
Yep.
We can't be that. Right? So even when my girls are growing up, my girls, you know, my daughter's 26, my youngest daughter's 23. And I probably didn't do that well with them and explain the why to them when they were very little.
Yeah.
But when they got, you know, teenagers, and especially now in their 20s, I explain the why to them everything. So if they ask me something or I tell them something, and they say, okay, thank you, Dad. Before we got the phone, I said, hold up. Do you understand why I told you that?
Love it.
Oh, I do. Okay, tell me why I told you what I told you.
Come on.
So let's have that conversation. Let's have that dialogue.
Love it.
And you tell me why I just told you what I told you. Because I need you to understand why I told you that.
Yeah.
So you go back to do whatever that task is, you're informed, not just by what I told you, but now you're educated enough now to know how to go about and do that without necessarily, you know, feeling like I'm just doing it because my daddy told me to do it.
Major.
No, I need you to know why you're doing it.
Major.
And the purpose behind it.
Oh, wow.
Right? I don't care if you're getting your car, oil changed, if you're going to take it to the dealership, or if you're, you know, at a restaurant, you feel like you got slighted a certain kind of way by the waitress.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have that conversation, and don't be afraid to say, "Hey, excuse me, but I asked for this, and I feel like you did it this way, and did I miss something? Did I say something wrong to you or whatever? Are you having a bad day? Because if you are, I mean, I get it, but again, I'm paying for a service, right? So know how to carry a conversation.
Yep.
Know how to ask those questions, and don't walk away pissed off or irritated. Go ahead and have that conversation.
Get some closure.
Right?
Man.
Right? And so with little man, today, he locked in on the TV. I'm like, bro, tomorrow, what's the day? Sunday?
Yep.
Yes, sir. I said, what's tomorrow? Monday? He said, you got school tomorrow? I said, you got school tomorrow? Yes, sir. I said, okay, so what do you probably need to be doing right now? I need to get my clothes out for school for the week. I said, exactly.
There you go.
So I can iron your clothes, right? I made him clean the bathroom today. I made him get on iReady and do 4 lessons, 2 math, 2 reading.
Mm-hmm.
Because my wife, she's working on some stuff in the office. So anyway, he got done. We do our little walkthrough. We check, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. He didn't clean the glass good in his bathroom, the mirror, right? So I said, okay, you're going to do it again. We're going to run it back.
Sure.
If you don't get it like you're supposed to be, we're going to run it back again.
Yep.
So when he gets done finally, I said, come on, let's go outside. I'm going to go out on the back. I said, now tell me why you think I made you do everything that you did. I said, specifically tell me why you think I made you clean that mirror twice. And so then he says, so how do you put it? He said, so I can be responsible and do the chores I'm supposed to do. I said, exactly. I said, if you do the little things now at 13, I said, it's imagine what you can do when you're 23, 33, 43.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. So no, a lot of the stuff. All right, now, a lot of the stuff that you instilling in him, just by these things we call him small, is giving him a chance to have discipline.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that discipline key, I think, is a big deal in all of this that we're talking about, right? Because it's required. Yeah. In all of it too.
It is.
But the skills you build, the same way you build the skills, you have to build that discipline.
Exactly.
Right. And that village and everything else helps contribute towards that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you another thing I feel like our generation might have missed out on, when you're 55 my age. Our parents a lot of times, particularly when you talk about your fathers, right? Because my dad was around. But until you just go do something, but they don't show you how to do it.
Come on.
But they expect you to do it, right?
Major.
So that's something I really try to make sure that I'm doing with him, and I'm patient about it. It's like, okay, like go back to the mirror example. He cleaned it, but it was smeared everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, show me what you're doing. Because I went to the other room, I came back. I said, bro, that ain't getting it. I said, dog, the mirror is this wide. You can't do this. Go back and forth. Move your body to the left.
Come on.
Circle of motion on the glass. Yeah. Bring it back. Run it back again. Right. And I said, if you see a smear, it's okay to put that paper towel down, so I'm grab you another one and do it again.
That's right.
So again, I got to be patient when I do it with them, but I got to be intentional. I got to be strong with how my approach is, right? Because I need him to be a strong young man when he grows up, right? But at the same time, you still got to find that middle ground, that dynamic of being patient and soft.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Be
grace.
Gentle, grace, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I love that. You know what? And he's talking about the dynamics he has in his household, but I think it all translates to how we as a community need to understand.
Exactly.
Our role is the same.
Exactly.
It's like wherever you are, for the audience, wherever you are, in the dynamics that you're working in, especially if you're in how you doing. If you're in the school industry, it's important for you to listen to the layers of what we're trying to share here around redefining strength. Because as a teacher, right, this is the reason why I talk about, the school system, right? As a teacher, you're teaching them the topic. You're teaching them the topic you're responsible for, but you also have an opportunity to teach them the other things that they need to be equipped with. Right.
Right.
So, and the sad thing about it, some of the teachers may not know either. right? And
Absolutely.
it's like
Absolutely.
the grace has to be given there too. It seems like the only outlet or the closest outlet to making this real around redefining strength is to make sure y'all understand that as well as, us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I hope, out of this conversation, I hope you heard the layers or the assignment, right? It's time to redefine strength.
Yep.
And what it's going to take is all of us to do it. But I want to thank my brother Keith here for
Yes,
dropping
sir.
all these gems.
You already know. Got you.
And sharing layers of himself and how he's putting things into practice where he is. I'm extremely proud of him. I share that with him all the time, and I think sometimes we don't say that enough to our brothers either, especially from brother to brother. So
I feel the same way about you too. You know
thank
that.
you, man.
You
I
know
appreciate it. I
You know
appreciate
that.
it. But yeah, we're gonna catch you next time. Remember, let's continue this movement of redefining strength so things can change around us and we can live a better life because we decided to.
Exactly.
All right, y'all take care.
All right. Appreciate it.